March. This month was one of the worst months ever, and I feel like it dragged on for so long. I'm actually really proud of myself for how many books I've read this month, considering how manic this month has been. By the end of this month, I read 7 books, but before I get into the books, I'm going to talk about the statistics, which I was inspired to do by A Frolic Through Fiction. For the month of March, I read a total of 7 books and 2,119 pages. This averaged about 70 pages a day. The first book I read this month was Eliza and Her Monsters by Francesca Zappia. I go into depth on what this book is about in my March TBR video, so if you want to, you can go and watch that if you want to learn more about this book. But just to summarize what this book is about, it is about a girl named Eliza Merck, who is the anonymous writer of a webcomic named Monsters C. Wallace Warland is the #1 fanfiction writer for Monsters C and ends up transferring to Eliza's school. Eliza and Wallace go into this crazy adventure of what it's like to live offline, but Eliza's secret is shared and Wallace and Eliza's world comes crashing down. I read this book in one day, in one sitting, if that tells you how good it is. All of the characters were so well thought out and each had their own unique personality, and Eliza and Wallace together, it was just such a great match. They were so similar in the complete opposite ways. They're both really socially awkward, they have a really hard time making friends, and they're really hard to understand, especially when it comes to their friends and family. I fell in love with this book and ended up giving it a 4 out of 5 star rating. If I'm talking really quietly, I have really bad allergies this month and the pollen count's very high today, so I am very congested right now. The next book I read this month was The Hobbit by J.R.R. Tolkien. I would be very surprised if people haven't heard of this book, but to quickly summarize, this follows the story of a hobbit named Bilbo Baggins. He goes on an adventure with some dwarves to win a share of the treasure guarded by Smaug the dragon. I had a lot of ups and downs with this book. There was a lot of things I liked about it, but a lot more memorable things I didn't like about it. I don't think I'll ever read this book again. I didn't even rate it because I just didn't like it that much, I'll be honest. And I know there's a lot of Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit fans out there, so I'm not saying any of this to offend you. It was just not for me. The third book I read this month was Daisy Jones and the Six by Taylor Jenkins Reid. Again, I go into depth talking about this book in my March TBR video, but wow, where do I even begin to express how much I loved this book? This is officially one of my all-time favorite books. It follows a girl named Daisy who is coming of age in LA in the late 60s. Her voice is finally getting heard along with a band called The Six led by Billy Dunn. Daisy and Billy cross paths along with The Six when a producer puts them together and then legendary things happen. This book had so many intricate layers together and talked about really hard subjects that are actually so risky to write about in books, especially when you're not sure what's going to inspire people and what's going to offend people. But I love that the author took that risk because it in no way came off offensive and fit the book perfectly. She tackled subjects on abortion, drugs, domestic violence, alcoholism, and mental health, and so much more. Because of its level of intricacy and the way that the characters in the story were so well developed, I ended up giving this book a 5 out of 5 stars, and I would highly recommend this book to literally anybody. The fourth book I read this month was How to Live with a Neurotic Dog by Stephen Baker. This book has been sitting on my shelf for as long as I've had my shelf. I don't know how it got there, I don't know when it got there, but I felt bad just getting rid of it without giving it a chance, so I read it, and I'm not going to talk about it because I read it out of pure guilt, and I knew I wasn't going to like it, and I didn't like it. Moving on. Towards the end of this month, I started a Harry Potter readathon, so if you don't want to hear me drone on about Harry Potter for the next 5 minutes, I will not be offended if you skip to the end of this video or just leave the video, because for the rest of the video, I'm going to be talking about Harry Potter. Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone by J.K. Rowling was the 5th book I read this month. And so far, out of the ones I've read, this is my favorite Harry Potter book. If for some reason you don't know what Harry Potter is about, it follows a boy named Harry who lives with his horrible relatives, the Dursleys. He lives underneath the Dursleys' stairs, but a mysterious letter arrives by Owl Messenger, and it turns out that that letter is an invitation to a school called Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry. When Harry gets to Hogwarts, he meets some great friends, a flying sport on broomsticks, magic and everything surrounding him, and a destiny that has been waiting for him. This was such a fun story, and I cannot believe it's taken me 20 years to finally start it. This is another one of those books where the characters are so well developed that you don't have to be told who's talking to know who's talking. I'm very impressed that J.K. Rowling was able to come up with a completely new world filled with new mannerisms, a different type of language, a completely new species of animals, food, magic, and so much more. I ultimately gave Sorcerer's Stone a 5 out of 5 star rating. Wow, I've really been handing out 5-star ratings this month, but that's okay because this book really deserved it. You guessed it, the 6th book I read this month was Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets by J.K. Rowling. This book is the 2nd book in the Harry Potter series and follows Harry returning to his 2nd year of Hogwarts. He has a new stuck-up professor, Gilderoy Lockhart, meets a spirit named Moaning Myrtle who haunts the girls' bathroom, and has the unwanted attention of Ron Weasley's younger sister, Ginny. Someone or something starts turning the Hogwarts students into stone, and everyone expects it to be Harry, but that is far from the truth. I didn't like Chamber of Secrets as much as I liked Sorcerer's Stone, and I think that's because I loved Sorcerer's Stone so much that I had extremely high expectations for the books following, and Chamber of Secrets just didn't hit that mark for me. I noticed there was a lot of similar things happening in Chamber of Secrets that had already happened in Sorcerer's Stone. It was sort of the same theme of Ron and Harry do something they're not supposed to do, Ron and Harry get caught, Ron and Harry escape almost getting expelled. There was also a reference to suicide in the book, and it was kind of poking fun at suicide, which I was not a huge fan of. But the ending was a lot better than the beginning. It was a lot more developed, it was a lot more unique compared to the first one, and I actually liked the ending of Chamber of Secrets more than I liked the ending of Sorcerer's Stone, but overall I liked Sorcerer's Stone better than Chamber of Secrets. I gave Chamber of Secrets a 3 out of 5 star ratings just because the beginning of the book was so bad compared to the end, and I didn't start enjoying it until towards the end. The last book I read this month was Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban by J.K. Rowling, and I'm actually not completely done with this book, but I'm gonna finish it after I film this video. I'm not gonna make too many comments on it yet because I don't think I'm far enough along in the book to be able to do that, but so far it's given me kind of the same vibes of the beginning of Chamber of Secrets and Sorcerer's Stone, but it's not a carbon copy like Chamber of Secrets was, so I definitely like this one a lot more than Chamber of Secrets so far. So, kind of to summarize, Sorcerer's Stone is my number 1, Prisoner of Azkaban's number 2, and Chamber of Secrets is number 3. And I think Chamber of Secrets is going to be my least favorite for all of them. I am kind of getting that vibe from it. That was all 7 books I've read this month. Thank you so much for watching, and stay tuned to my next video, which will be my April TBR, and I'm posting that on Thursday. Stay safe, stay clean, and thank you again for watching.